With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The Algerian authorities have decided to declare the Deputy Consul General of Morocco in Oran persona non grata. The UN Security Council A3+ group has expressed in New York its deep concern over the deteriorating humanitarian situation in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, affirming its constant commitment to the sovereignty, integrity and stability of the country. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has expressed deep concern over the escalating situation in South Sudan, situation warning that the country is on the brink of civil war. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. Good afternoon. First in our news, the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, has offered his sincere condolences and expressed his deep compassion to the family of artist Hamza Fghouli, known as Mama Masouda, who passed away today at the age of 86. President Tebboune hailed in his message the deceased, describing him as one of the most prominent figures of Algerian artistic scene, who left his mark on the minds of Algerians for several decades thanks to his talent, and immortalized in artistic works deeply enshrined in our memories, bringing joy to the public, especially in difficult times, thus distinguishing himself by his prominent place among artists and all Algerians. Several human rights organizations of the Algerian civil society have denounced during a meeting held in Algiers all forms of intimidation and harassment suffered by Algerian nationals living in France, calling on the French authorities to respect the laws and agreements and to stop illegal evictions immediately. In a statement read at the end of this meeting by the human rights activist Fathi Manar, it was stressed that the acts of intimidation and expulsion operations emanating from the French authorities against Algerian nationals constitute a blatant violation of international charters and human rights by a country that claims to defend human rights. The acting manager of the Consulate General of the Kingdom of Morocco in Algiers, Khalid Shihani, was summoned on Thursday to the headquarters of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where he was received by the Director General of Protocol, Mokhtar Amin Khalif, who notified him of the decision by the Algerian authorities to declare persona non grata the Deputy General or the Deputy Consul General of Morocco in Iran. According to a statement of the Foreign Ministry, Mr. Shihani was notified of the decision to declare persona non grata the Deputy Consul General of Morocco in Iran, Mohammed As-Safiani, with the obligation to leave the national territory within a maximum of 48 hours for reasons related to the suspect behavior of the person concerned, incompatible with the nature of the exercise of his duties within the said consular representation and in violation of the Algerian laws in force on the matter, as well as the relevant international laws and customs, including the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. And the cooperation agreement has been signed in Algiers between the National Human Rights Council and the United Nations Development Programme UNDP as part of support for the creation of the National Network of Women Mediators in coordination with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs. The agreement was signed by the National Human Rights Council resident representative in Algeria, Ms. Natasha Van Ringe, in the presence of the Deputy Director of Human Rights and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Shirikhi Ahlam Sara, and of the Ambassador of Japan in Algiers, Suzuki Kotaro, as the party responsible for financing this convention. 14 Palestinian civilians were killed, including women and children, and several others were wounded at dawn today in the Zionist occupation army bombardment targeting a house in Al Zaytun neighborhood southeast of Gaza City, according to local sources quoted by the Palestinian news agency Wafa. The death toll from the Zionist genocidal aggression against the Gaza Strip rose on Thursday to 50,208 martyrs and 113,910 injured since October 7, 2023, according to the Palestinian health authorities. In the occupied West Bank, the Zionist occupation forces continue their large-scale assault on the city of Tulkarem and its refugee camp for the 61st consecutive day and for the 48th day on North Shams refugee camp to the east, or amid escalating forced evacuations, repeated incursions, and widespread destruction of infrastructure. Saad Boughali has more detail in this report.
In the early hours of today, Zionist military units, including infantry and military vehicles, were deployed in the gold market in the center of Tulkarem city. They halted the movement of vehicles and civilians, conducting field interrogations with several residents, and forced them to leave the market under the pretext of imposing a curfew. The Zionist forces also raided an agricultural supplies store in the area, breaking its gate, searching the store, and damaging its contents. Another raid was carried out at a shop near the Esselam roundabout in the eastern neighborhood, where soldiers vandalized the store's contents. Occupation vehicles were seen patrolling various streets of the city, driving against traffic and causing confusion, leading to several vehicle collisions. Additionally, Zionist forces set up flying military checkpoints in several locations across the city. The ongoing Zionist assault on Tulkarem and its camps has led to the killing of 13 Palestinians, including a child and 2 women, one of whom was 8 months pregnant. Dozens have been injured or detained, and more than 24,000 people have been displaced from both the Tulkarem and North Shams camps, in addition to the numerous families forced to flee from the northern neighborhoods of the city. The continued Zionist military assault has resulted in widespread destruction, including the demolition of homes, businesses, and vehicles, many of which have been either completely or partially destroyed, burned, looted, or damaged.
And the United Nations World Food Programme has warned that it has only 2 weeks of food aid left in the Gaza Strip, and that hunger is once again threatening the Palestinian enclave since the resumption of the savage Zionist aggression against the Palestinian territory. Saad Boughali reports again.
In a press release, the World Food Programme said it had around 5,700 tons of food reserves in the Gaza Strip, enabling it to distribute parcels, flour for bread or hot meals to the population for a maximum of 2 weeks. He pointed out that hundreds of thousands of people in the besieged Palestinian enclave are once again threatened by severe hunger and malnutrition as food aid supplies in the Palestinian territory dwindle and borders remain closed to humanitarian aid due to the blockade imposed by the Zionist occupation forces. The humanitarian situation in the war-torn Gaza Strip has been particularly dramatic since the Zionist occupation forces closed the crossings for humanitarian aid on 2nd March. On 18th March, the Zionist occupation army resumed its bombardments of the Palestinian enclave, followed by ground operations after a 2-month truce. According to the Palestinian health authorities, the Zionist occupation forces have killed 855 Palestinians and injured 1,869 since 18th March, while the toll resulting from its savage aggression against the Palestinian enclave has reached 50,208 martyrs and 113,910 wounded since 7th October 2023.
And the NGO World Central Kitchen has announced that one of its volunteers has been killed in a strike of or by the Zionist occupation army while distributing meals in the Gaza Strip. Our hearts are heavy today as we mourn the loss of one of our volunteers in Gaza, wrote World Central Kitchen in a message on social networks. And the network of Palestinian civil society organizations has called on the UN to reverse its decision to reduce the number of its employees in the Gaza Strip while the Zionist occupation continues its crimes against humanity in the Palestinian enclave. In a press release relayed by the Palestinian news agency Wafa, they called on the UN to strengthen its presence in the Palestinian enclave and to send more international teams to protect civilians and to monitor human rights violations. He also stressed the need to put pressure on the Zionist occupation to put an end to the measures blocking the access of international employees to the Palestinian enclave, the restrictions imposed on the work of UN agencies and international NGOs, and to guarantee access to Gaza for foreign journalists and international diplomats. The NGO networks condemned the targeting by Zionist occupation forces of the UN headquarters in the Palestinian enclave, resulting in the death of an international employee, while others were injured, in addition to a series of attacks against employees of international and Palestinian organizations, including the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA. And to the Western Sahara file now, the International Observatory Western Sahara Resources Watch has strongly condemned in a statement the blatant contempt of the French multinational Energy for International Law in occupied Western Sahara, where it continues to illegally produce electricity. The electricity produced by the company is intended for the agricultural sector in the region of Dakhla, a city located in the part of the Western Sahara under Moroccan military occupation, says the NGO. Saad Bougazi has more details.
Western Sahara Resource Watch recalls that agricultural products from this region, including tomatoes and melons, which are mainly exported to the European Union, are the subject of judgments by the Court of Justice of the European Union. The latter has ruled on several occasions, most recently on 4th October 2024, that the EU-Morocco trade agreement, which provides for tariff preferences for agricultural products, could not be applied to Western Sahara due to the lack of consent from the people of the territory. As a result, the trade agreement, which covers agricultural imports from Dakhla, has been found to be in violation of international law principles, including the right to self-determination, says the NGO. Let's note that this is the second time in 10 days that the International Observatory Western Sahara Resource Watch has named the French company for its involvement in controversial projects in Western Sahara, occupied by Morocco. On 17th March, the NGO warned about another project to illegally produce green hydrogen in this non-autonomous territory awaiting decolonization, and in which Engie is present in several sectors. The coordinator of Western Sahara Resource Watch, Sarah Ekmans, said that they strongly condemn Engie's outspoken support for the Moroccan occupation of Western Sahara, both through its actions and statements. At a time when international law is under intense pressure, Engie's behavior must not remain unchallenged, insists Western Sahara Resource Watch.
And the UN Security Council's A3+ group has expressed in New York its deep concern over the deteriorating humanitarian situation in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, affirming its constant commitment to the sovereignty, integrity, and stability of the country. The A3+ group reiterated its urgent call for an immediate halt to hostilities in the east of the country, underlining that there is no justification for the continuation of this destructive conflict, and every additional day of massacre that passes only exacerbates the suffering and distress of the people. We must act immediately to silence the guns and stop the bloodshed, the group said. And UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is deeply concerned by the escalating situation in South Sudan, and has warned that the country is on the brink of civil war. The statement followed reports of the house arrest of South Sudan's first Vice President Riek Machar on Wednesday evening in Juba, the country's capital. And with this, we come to the end of this news bulletin. Time now for weekly programs devoted to the holy fasting month of Ramadan. As for me, I'll meet you again tomorrow. Thank you.
Welcome to your weekly program, Destination Algeria. I'm Jamal Semeni. There are a number of great destinations in Algeria just waiting to be discovered, a curious mixture of cultures and influences. Algeria has something interesting to see in just about every city. The country is also the first largest on the African continent, so you can be sure that there are plenty of towns and cities to visit. Let's visit Algeria's fascinating destinations, you and I together. Today is a special program where we are going to visit the Grand Mosque of Algiers. At present, the world's third largest mosque is erected in the Bay of Algiers. The mosque brings together various cultural and religious facilities. All main buildings in the mosque complex share a plinth that is in places up to 5 meters high. On this raised plateau, they are aligned from west to east in the direction of Mecca. Within the complex, they form two groups. In the west, the place for contemplation, with entrance arcades, cultural center, and minaret, and in the east, the place for congregation for up to 35,000 faithful. A spacious park leads from the mosque complex to the buildings in the south, namely the cultural center, the library, and the Imam School. The 265-meter height of the minaret and the length of the entire complex create a strong presence in the urban context over a wide area. Located only 6 kilometers east of the historical town center and not far from the airport, the mosque, hosting up to 120,000 visitors a day, will encourage the future development of the adjacent district of the city. The mosque complex is linked to the buildings in the south, namely the cultural center, the library, and the Imam School, by a spacious park. This landscaped outdoor area can house a large number of people and also offers a haven of tranquility. Through their alignment and height, the mosque ancillary buildings reference the adjoining residential buildings to the south. In the way they are configured, they serve as a buffer zone between the city and the mosque park. The prayer hall, or salle de prière, is a massive cube towering up to 45 meters and able to take up to 35,000 people. The interior, with its choice materials, restrained ornamentation and indirect natural light, creates an impressive spatial experience. All the traditional religious elements, such as the Qibla wall, the mihrab, minbar, and Dikka, are integrated into a whole of modern aesthetics. Daylight from above steeps the whole in continually changing patterns of light and shadow. The interplay of light and shadow is creating a space with a sacred, if not mystical, character. The minaret rises up to some 265 meters and is thus on the same scale as major skyscrapers. It is the highest building in Africa. The lower stories open out invitingly to the plaza and transport visitors by means panoramic elevators into those upper stories open to the public, in which the Museum of Islamic History is housed. Above it, there are two research areas open to academics only. The multi-layered facade is made up of an outer ornamental skin made of prefabricated perforated facade elements that protect the glass skin behind from direct solar radiation. The 4 access routes at the tower's corners are clad in bright natural stone. The top of the minaret will be transparent. The glass will cover the viewing platforms, one for visitors, the other for VIP guests. They offer a unique view over the city and the sea. The flora columns, the leitmotif for the design throughout the edifice, are flora pillars with protruding capitals in all areas of the ensemble. The flora columns not only blend harmoniously with the local palm vegetation, but combine load-bearing properties with other technical functions. They provide a surface acoustic equipment, while also integrating ventilation and drainage. The building complex forms a successful combination of Algerian tradition and the present. The mosque brings together the cultural wealth of Islam and Algeria with German excellence in architecture and engineering. Construction site work began at the building site for the large new mosque building in March 2012. To protect the approximately 150 by 150 meter large prayer hall from earthquakes, its supports are positioned only seismic isolators. To ensure the stability of the extremely slim and 265-meter-high minaret, the base of the shaft is sunk approximately 15 meters into the ground. Structural devices of this magnitude as earthquake protection are unique. In the second part of our weekly program, Destination Algeria, we focus on the Jama al-Jdid Mosque. At approximately 350 years old, the Jama al-Jdid Mosque is by no means a new religious site, as the name reflects. The Jama al-Jdid Mosque was constructed in 1660 during the Ottoman period, and even though its designation changed a few times over the centuries, and reconstruction was done to suit its new purposes, the building survived the French onslaught, which saw many historic buildings destroyed. As the ruling forces changed, so did the Jama al-Jdid Mosque, and is today an interesting structure that reflects numerous architectural styles. Some of the styles that can be seen in the architecture include Byzantine, Italian, Turkish, and Andalusian. Through years of remodeling, visitors will enjoy this spectacular attraction as it is educational, interesting, and breathtakingly beautiful. There are two entrances to the Jama al-Jdid Mosque, and visitors can look forward to exploring the ramparts, domes, vaults, columns, and wood finishes that have been designed to perfection. As the mosque was forced to take on the role of various religions, new designs and additions were made to accommodate each community, and so giving the mosque its unique look and atmosphere. certain times, the mosque does not allow non-Muslims through its doors. But when it is open to the public, visitors are advised not to let opportunity pass them by to discover this magnificent historical wonder. Every church and mosque in Algeria has a story to tell, and the Jama' Jadid Mosque is a building that holds the secrets to the past and the good fortune to still be in existence for future generations to enjoy.
Hi and a hearty welcome. Today we'll focus on the Holy Quran and the Earth's atmosphere. Modern science has discovered facts about the atmosphere mentioned in the Holy Quran over 1400 years ago. In the relevant verse of the Holy Quran, Allah, God Almighty, swears by the sky and its functions of returning without specifying what it returns. In Islamic doctrine, a divine oath signifies the magnitude of importance of a special relation to Allah, God the Creator, and manifests His majesty, the supreme truth, in a special way. Another verse describes the divine act that made the sky a seating for the dwellers of earth.